Today I'm talking to the Serbian ambassador to the UK, Dejan Popovic. The victory of the new president and former nationalist opposition leader Tomislav Nikolic surprised many outside Serbia. Ambassador Popovic, did it surprise you?
To an extent, yes. It was actually the economy that was the topic, the most important topic of the electoral campaign. And the perception of the general population was actually such that they were not satisfied with the performances of the economy. So, contrary to the perceptions of some observers, some more important, quote-unquote, issues like EU perspectives of Serbia or Kosovo were not in the focus of the campaign. The economy was.
And so what were the social factors that led up to his victory, would you say?
The unemployment rate is as high as 25%. And this is the most important factor that actually concerns the majority of Serb voters. So given the environment which is actually globally unfavorable to the economic growth, actual performances of Serbia's economy were perceived as unsatisfactory by the majority of voters, and that's the outcome.
What does President Nikolic promise to bring to the table under these circumstances?
His rhetoric was concentrated on the economic issues, the facilitation of foreign investment, improvement of the investment climate in the country, and reduction in the corruption scales. Namely, there is a perception among the voters that the corruption still remains a major problem. And the criticisms by President Nikolic and his supporters was aimed at these issues. So majority of voters did accept that.
And what about relationships with the outside world? Is the new president's victory a rejection of Tadic's rapprochement with the West?
I wouldn't say so. Namely, the most important difference between the pre-2008 and post-2008 rhetoric of Mr. Nikolic is his move towards the political centrum and repositioning of his newly established Serbian Progressive Party as a pro-European one.
We see across Europe a movement towards the right wing, and Mr. Nikolic is traditionally a right-wing politician. Is this part of that movement, do you think?
To an extent, yes, although the clear-cut distinctions between right and left in Serbia's political environment are not easily made. Namely, there is a lot of left-wing populist rhetoric in some right-oriented political parties and vice versa. But generally, after 4 years of predominantly left-oriented government, led by two social democratic parties like Democratic Party and Socialist Party of Serbia, we are now having a majority which is explaining itself. It's something differently.
And does that make Serbia sort of psychologically a part of Europe in that it's subject to the same social trends?
I would say so, yes. There are trends that can be followed throughout the region, not just in Serbia, and I'm content because of these developments.
What policy shifts do you expect to see in President Nikolic's government?
When we speak about the policies, I think that economy would be in focus because, as I said, that was the only important topic on the elections. Very tough decisions have to be made by the new government. Our indebtedness is now high. It exceeded 45% of the GDP, which is a statutory limit established by the law. So there is very small room for additional indebtedness. On the other hand, the deficit is running high, between 4 and 5% of GDP. And given the low rate of growth, which is actually just above the zero rate, we do not have much room for maneuvers but to enter into a very strict domain of austerity measures to be implemented in the months to come.
So in fact it seems as if the rest of Europe, if you like, is moving away slightly from austerity, electing governments who don't support austerity, whereas Serbia is moving towards it.
We'll see how the new government would formulate its policies. We will also have to see whether the newly elected French government after the elections in June this year will radically change the course of the economy. It is rather easy to talk against austerity, but to implement an alternative scenario is something different.
We've talked a lot about Europe, but Mr. Nikolić's first visit as president-elect was made to Russia. What should we read into that?
It is my understanding that Mr. Nikolić, in his capacity as the then president of Serbian Progressive Party, was invited to the Congress of United Russia Party, his party's sister party in Russia, to attend the Congress of that political group. So that was something which was prearranged before the election results. Anyhow, it shows the relevance Mr. Nikolić is giving to the relations Serbia would like to enhance with Russia. They are already excellent relations, and I think that there is another additional room for improving these relations.
As a diplomat, do you think it's possible, as President Nikolić wishes, to be a country with two doors, one looking to the east and one looking to the west?
Well, yes, I have a lot of examples with such policies. Some very good friends of Russia, for instance, Bulgaria or Croatia, are members or are becoming members of the EU. I don't see why shouldn't Serbia become the member of the European Union, provided all the conditionalities are met, and in the same time keep and enhance its relations with major economic partner as Russia is. Anyhow, EU and Russia are partners, not the foes.
There are stumbling blocks, though, aren't there, to Serbia being a fully fledged member of the EU. One of them is possibly NATO membership, which President Nikolić says that he would never take on, and the other is the recognition of Kosovo. Mr. Nikolić has already made it clear that if Serbia has to choose between recognising Kosovo and the EU, then it can forget about the EU.
There is nothing new in the formulations you cited. Namely, the same formulations were made by former President Tadić. Serbia's National Assembly had adopted 5-6 years ago a resolution declaring the military neutrality of Serbia. So Serbia, within the present constellation, is politically determined not to become the member of NATO. On the other hand, Serbia's constitution proclaimed Kosovo as the part of the country, so no politician can disobey the basic principles as stated in the constitution of the country.
He's already rocked the boat as well, hasn't he? He's already sort of undone some of the work that was done to restore relations with Serbia's neighbours. The leaders of Croatia, Slovenia and Bosnia have said they won't come to the inauguration after Nikolić denied that genocide occurred in Srebrenica.
I am the lawyer. As I told you in my previous life, I was a professor of law. So the judgments of a court, particularly bearing in mind the International Court of Justice, are something that are, per definition, the facts that are established. I think that Serbia's national parliament adopted 2 years ago the declaration condemning the crime that happened in Srebrenica and that was committed against the Bosnian Muslims living there as it was defined by the International Court of Justice judgment.
Has President Nikolic now rejected that, though? Is that what we should see in that?
You will have to talk to him. I am not sure how the things are now developing, but what I know is that the President Nikolic also condemned the tragic and serious crime, enormous crime committed in Srebrenica, and we had this resolution of the National Assembly of Serbia.
What do you think the EU's got to offer Serbia, given the debt crisis going on in your country, but also the crisis going on inside the European Union?
The EU has now 27 member states, and the 28th is preparing to enter in the year 2013. I do not know of any that is trying to leave the European Union. So there are some values that are inherited in the European Union which are exceeding the present day problems, the problems of the recession, the crisis in the Eurozone. Within 3 or 4 years we will have another set of problems and the recession which is behind us. So the things are always changing, but geographically, politically and culturally, Serbia, as all other countries in the region, does belong to this neighborhood, the neighborhood that's integrated in the European Union. We are speaking about the rule of law. We are speaking about the economic environment that could be providing incentives for foreign direct investments. It's aimed at increasing the employment in Serbia and solving the most important issue, the issue of unemployment that I already mentioned.
If push came to shove, which would be the more important relationship to Serbia, the one with the EU or the one with Russia?
Well, I would again try not to explain these relations as being contradictory. To the contrary, I think that they represent a complementary value for the country like Serbia. Serbia is aimed towards having the best possible relations with Russia while keeping its pro-European path open. President Nikolic told that to President Putin when he recently paid a visit to Moscow.
Ambassador Popovic, thank you very much.
Thank you.